Welcome, everybody, to Intellectual Porn. I'm Mantra. This is Gentleman Rooster. Today we are talking about Alita, Battle Angel. What was your take on said movie? Now, this will have spoilers, so 3, 2, 1. Spoilers are coming at you straight away. Gentleman Rooster.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the beginning of Alita, Battle Angel.
How did it begin? How did it begin? You've seen it sooner than I have. I mean, I think it'd be better if you start talking about it because I saw it a while ago and it's not fresh in my mind. You just saw the movie, right?
Yeah,
so
I did see it about a week ago.
Yeah.
So I saw it because everyone was raving about it. It's almost like the movie that everyone should see in spite of Captain Marvel. And again, here's the third video we're talking about.
We're not talking about Captain Marvel today, okay? We're not. Don't go see it.
Yeah, Captain M. But no, do it. Did you hear that it got down to 27%?
I was gonna say. I'll tell you. Go tell Rotten Tomatoes you don't want to see it, but they won't let you tell them that.
We wanted to take away that feature for a long time, and it had nothing with the fact that people want to go see.
This was just in the works. This was always in the works. It was always in the works.
Yeah. Just because people think that it's reviews and it's not, and so we had to take it down. Yeah. But that's because the fake news media decided to call them reviews instead of want to see comments.
Which is what they were. Which was funny is they didn't take it down. They pushed it back. So you can't say I don't want to see it until the movies come out. You can still say I don't want to see it, but only after the movies come out.
Wouldn't that just be a review then?
No, it's never a review. It's literally just I don't want to see it. Like it's not.
No, but once the movie comes out, doesn't it replace the fact like whether you saw the movie and you didn't like it, or are you saying that that's still going to be there? It just won't be...
The function will be available for people who don't want to see it, but only after the movies come out. It's entirely intended to hide the fact that people don't want to see the movie, to help movies that people don't want to see have a stronger opening.
Well, let's be honest, like that's how they make their money, probably from the companies that are promoting different movies. They don't make their money from the public, obviously. So when it comes down to, do we save our money? Do we hoard our money and keep our reputation, or do we lose our reputation and get the money? Most companies, because they're stupid, pick the money. So chances are they're probably getting paid by Disney to promote their films. And so... I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing based off of the way the platform works. I imagine that they're getting paid by Disney or Sony or Universal or Warner Brothers when their films come out for them to promote them. And then, but what the problem is that now they're going to be losing credibility, where the reason why those companies use them is because people go there to find out how good the movie is, to hear about news, to hear about stuff like that. As soon as you blow your credibility, nobody wants to use you anymore because they think that you're basically just another advertising board for whoever is willing to pay you.
Well, the president of the president of the company that owns Rotten Tomatoes was a former Disney executive, Paul Yanover. He's the president. He used to work for Disney. He was an executive of Disney. So it's no, there's nothing to do with any of that. What?
Phone's in bed with somebody else, and we know who they are.
I don't know what that was, but okay. So we're not supposed to talk about this. We're supposed to talk about Alita Battle Angel. Jeez.
Welcome, everybody. This is Intellectual Porn. My name is Yes, Alita Battle Angel. So I saw it last week, and as I said, it had huge reviews. People were going nuts over it, and I went and saw it. And my response to it is, it was about as good as Aquaman. If you really, really, really liked Aquaman, you'll probably really like Alita Battle Angel. Huh. That was kind of my response. I thought it was just okay. I didn't think it was the, absolutely amazing that everyone was making it out to be. But I thought it wasn't bad. I had a few issues with the movie. I didn't have any issues with the characters' eyes or anything like that. But there was the pacing, I thought, was a little off. Like they were trying to fit a lot into it. And it just seemed like, her transition from being an innocent kid who doesn't remember who she is to being, a warrioress, and running around killing people seemed to happen a little bit too fast. It didn't seem like the pacing was natural. And to be fair, I mean, I compare this kind of with not directly, obviously, but just I saw Rain Man again just recently, and I just noticed like you watch the development of Tom Cruise throughout the film and his treatment of Dustin Hoffman, and you can see a very slow, very humanistic like progression of him being a complete asshole, like directly a complete asshole, to slowly coming around and you know and appreciating who his brother is and stuff like that, and the bond that they create. And it's a very naturally or it feels very natural in how it comes about. And with Alita, it just seemed like it kind of went from I don't I love oranges. Oranges are my favorite food. To like, I will kill everyone. And it just seemed a little bit too quick to the punch. That's all.
Well, I found a new love for oranges in that movie. I I'm watching. I'm like when she does, I was like, she's right. My God, oranges are amazing. I really want an orange right now.
You know what would have been even better? You know what would have pissed like you said last time, like feminists didn't like it. What would have made it even better is if it was bananas. Like,
oh my God, what is
like,
that? It's a cucumber.
Bananas.
Oh my God, I love cucumbers too.
Or eggplants.
I was gonna say, do you have any eggplants? We have emojis for those.
Yes.
We don't have those anymore in this world, but we have emojis of them. Yeah, I felt that the I liked that she wasn't immediately good at things. She did screw up. Like when she first plays anime rollerball, and like she doesn't understand how the rollerblades work. She doesn't understand how to stop and do stuff. And she picks it up pretty quickly, but she still screws up at least once. And this isn't Rocky. You don't have like you don't have a montage. Like it's not. I would much like I appreciated it. Like I would much rather have. I mean, when you've got 6 hours of story and you're gonna cram it into 2 hours of cinema, scratch the montage. Like just like do one screw up and then be like, okay, learn from that and move on. But yeah, I kind of like. There's really no way to get around it. Is the problem? It was a natural obstacle that they needed to overcome, because the story is of a girl who is, this is what she is. She is designed to be a badass killer. Like that is in her nature. And you're looking at that with Captain Marvel, which is the same thing. She's like this badass Kree, and she's been pumped up. Well, like I don't know, they've spliced her DNA or something, but she's like got all these superpowers. She's amazing. She's going to be awesome. She's been built to be amazing, designed to be amazing. So she's going to overcome everything, and that's why like there's articles that are like Thanos is effed, because like of course because she's a Mary Sue. The thing about Alita, she is a Mary Sue. Like she's totally by build and design a Mary Sue. When you're dealing with a character like that, there's only like you either let her mess up a couple of times or you don't. And that's the thing about Rey. Rey never messes up. And Captain Marvel is not going to mess up. Brie Larson doesn't mess up. It's not enough to be like, well, you have to find yourself, discover who you are. Oh, that's my challenge. That's my hero's journey. No. You have to realize that you need to also realize the limitations, like how strong you are. You need to realize that you need to dial back your strength, because sometimes you're too strong. Like she's like, and she smashes a table. Like, oops, maybe I shouldn't do that. This is anger that I need to overcome. When she's like, oh, I can do all these awesome acrobatics, but I'm on wheels and that's not normal. So whoop, I'm gonna slip a couple of times until I can adjust. But I am a badass. I will adjust by nature. But let me slip a couple of times. So I'm okay with that. I was okay with that.
Well, I think the way that they always dealt with Superman as being basically in a sense, male version of Mary Sue, whatever that would be.
Gary Stu.
No,
it's just what it is. It's
Gary Stu. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the way they dealt with that to prevent him from being a Gary Stu was he wants to be human. And so they made his human fallibilities the part that everyone fell in love with, where it's like he didn't understand women, he was awkward, he wanted to be Clark Kent, he wanted to be normal, but he knew he couldn't be because because there's threats to the world that only he could stop. Like they added a second element, and that's what drew people to the Superman story. The Man of Steel movie, I think, is a little rough around the edges in that regard, because unfortunately Henry Cavill made him very, very depressed and very sad, at least what it seemed like the entire time, kind of like Captain Marvel. But the idea, though, of course, is still wanting to be normal, wanting to have a normal life, but yet being stuffed into this role of being the only one on the planet who has these abilities, and feeling that aloneness and trying to figure out what that means is the human journey for everyone. Because the thing about being human is everyone is alone. No matter, no matter where you are in your life, you're alone in your own mind in a certain way, sense or form. And so you have to walk your own journey. And that was what the Superman story was what do you do when you have all the power of a god, but you can't use them, or you don't want to use them because all you want is to be normal. All you want is to be like one of everybody else. And I think that's where they won when it came to Superman. And Alita kind of tries to hit that a little bit in the regards to like making her a little bit fallible initially. But I agree. Like, I think that's where you have to have the human connectedness. And if they don't do that, or like what they didn't do with Ray, where they didn't create that fallibility to where you actually, wanted to connect with the character, because it ends up just being so foreign to you that it's like, I don't see myself feeling those same emotions that the character is. What, winning at everything? You're right. I don't feel that. I don't know what it's like to always win and get whatever I want constantly. What's that like? Right. Even James Bond I think the reason why James Bond ended up blossoming after Daniel Craig took over was because they decided to make Daniel Craig less of this ultimate badass that rarely made mistakes, and made him fallible. They had him fall in love with Vesper initially and then be betrayed. They created weaknesses for him that you didn't see before. But like James Bond was on the verge of complete destruction. Like they were about to end it, because I think was it The World Is Not Enough was the last no, Die Another Day was the last one with Pierce Brosnan. And
that one was amazing. You shut your mouth before you
hold
your tongue.
hold on.
That was amazing. That
I don't
movie was awesome.
I will say this. It had some good parts to it. I love the car scene, which you'd never seen before. I thought that was pretty cool. But the whole concept about it was a little bit weird. Like with the Icarus, we're gonna just use the sun to burn everybody. It was getting a little bit too off the wall.
James Bond. Did I tell you about like my whole concept for A6? Which is it was the American version of James Bond. I'd written one screenplay, and I was going to make a series of.
Oh dear, Gentleman Rooster.
Yeah,
you paused for about 15 to 20 seconds there. You may want to go back and start over again.
Okay, so the thing about did I tell you about Okay, so I was writing a screenplay for American version of James Bond. Okay. And it'd be like, what if James Bond was from America what if America had an MI6 and it was like on a tight budget, and like one of the agents, yeah, and there was like one agent who is like the American James Bond. He gets like all the cool stuff, and then there's this other agent who's just a total tool, and he gets like all the crappy stuff. So like, and it's his story. Like, what does he do? And so I wanted the villains to be like kind of the archetypical James Bond villains, where it starts off like it's like a regular heist of some kind. Like it's a diamond heist. Why are they stealing the diamonds? Because they want to get rich. No, because they want to fuse all the diamonds to a giant diamond, and then put the giant diamond into a satellite, and use the satellite to turn it into a laser and funnel all those lasers through all the diamonds to hit every single target everywhere. Yeah, exactly, like that. Yeah. And so like that became one of the movies ideas was going to be like a guy who like is he has like a security camera company like Nest or like not even Nest, like some podunk hole in the wall sells like cheap China knockoff security security webcams. But his whole thing was he was putting all these chips into all these different webcams, and then he had built a broadcast network company. And he like owned all these like little media companies, and what they were doing was they were broadcasting to these satellites, and then they were broadcasting to outer space. And what he did was by implanting all these cameras everywhere, he was recording like everybody on the planet. And this villain, he's a big shock art fan. He loves shock art. That's what he's all about. So in his mansion is all like just shock art everywhere. Like no portraits of like Salvador Dali. No, it's like some dude like poking his eye out or something for no reason, but just for art. And so his whole thing was exactly just like that. And so his whole thing was he was going to create a thermonuclear war that would destroy all of mankind. He was going to get everybody to launch all the nukes at each other, destroy all mankind, capture it on video, and shoot it into outer space so that aliens would witness the greatest shock art of all time, a planet destroying itself. And like that was his master plan. So I love those wackadoodle, stupid,
just way over the top.
Just super. The more over the top, the better. That's what I liked, and I love Die Another Day for the fencing. Like they start fencing, and then they're like he gets pissed off, so he grabs like a broadsword, and then he grabs an axe and a pike and a mace, and I'm like, yes, this movie understands me. This movie understands me.
This is the supernatural of James Bond.
This is it exactly. Where's the muscle car?
What?
Okay, so back to Battle Angel.
Did you ever see the Kingsman?
Yes. Okay, so I loved the first one. I loved
okay.
the first
You didn't
one.
like the second one?
I did not like the second one.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't feel like they really respected the characters that we were forced to fall in love with through the journey of the first one, and then they just kind of like pissed them away in the second. I like the action. I don't know. I liked it. There were parts of it that I really liked, but then there were parts that I was like, I just couldn't get over. Like, are we spoiling every movie? Let's do spoilers for Kingsman too. I did not
Alita Battle Angel. All right, we'll talk about Kingsman later. I was just curious, because it is kind of that James Bond knockoff. I liked the first movie. The only thing I didn't like was Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't like his whatever is all of the whistling kind of the lisp he had. But
what was that? Was that in?
That was in Kingsman 1.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like that. That was just annoying. I love Samuel L. Jackson for the most part.
Okay. All right. So Alita Battle Angel. Go ahead.
So there was a couple of things that I thought was interesting. So what I didn't like, again, we just in case this cut doesn't get, or the last cut, gets cut out. Spoiler alert for Alita Battle Angel, by the way. So at the very end, she's climbing up the that huge conduit to the to whatever the name of the city was, and her trying to catch up with her boyfriend.
Yep.
And this is where I thought was kind of cheesy. Like I kind of liked their connection throughout the whole movie, but then it was almost like they had to force this part where the blades come down, which, okay, naturally, that makes sense. That was his defense, to keep the city alive. And he tries to jump over it. She tries to jump over it. He gets sawed up, in the process, right? And she goes down, she reaches down, she grabs him, and for whatever reason, his arm, starts coming apart, and he falls down into the clouds.
For whatever reason, you mean the reason being that he was chopped up?
Well,
his body had been chopped up, and so that was a chopped up arm that was falling apart. That's the reason you were looking?
Well, I'll put it this way: his arm was fully functional, but then it started falling apart as soon as he had to put weight on it. So, like he was able
the parts that hold the arm apart together had broken off because it had been severed. But
yes.
The internals that control it still worked because they had not yet been severed. That's the whatever reason you.
You mean the rubber hosing on the outside got severed, and that's the supportive part of of the entire system. Like No, the wiring in there is going to provide a certain amount of supportiveness to the system
Certain amount,
itself.
yes. Certain
Yeah,
amount. Keyword there.
whatever.
Keyword.
Anyways, the point is that's not really what I'm getting at. So,
Oh, it's
regardless
not.
of that or not,
Not.
the point is that she the entire time they spend all this effort and time on how they're going to go and try to save each other, and she rescues him partway through the movie, and then in fact he almost dies and she rescues him again.
Right.
And she has this opportunity that she could have potentially saved him, but obviously caused damage to herself. And rather than falling with him, leaving the sword inside of the conduit, falling with him to try and stop his blow to the ground, whatever the case may be. Maybe he died anyways. But yeah, it doesn't really make any difference. But it would have been, in my opinion, it would have been a better story if she dropped, grabbed him, they both hit the ground, and her father shows up, or the guy, acts kind of like her father, shows up and has to choose between whose life he's going to save, and so he saves hers. Or the suit she's wearing has a certain amount of healing capacity to it that we weren't aware of at the time. That would have been a better story, a better ending. I didn't like the fact that she just sat there and watched him fall after everything that they had been through, and after everything that she had done. Suddenly, she's just going to oh no, I guess there's nothing I can do to help you, and that was it. No, you could have fallen with him and tried to figure something out on the way down. But that, in my opinion, that was kind of lame.
You're an asshole. You know
I
that
guess.
you are a Monday morning quarterbacking asshole. Imagine her sitting there bawling her eyes out to you, and I tried to help him, and his arm and you're just like, wow, well, if it were me, I would have gone down with him.
I'll put it this:
you could have tried something. You
yeah, that was the biggest complaint about Titanic. Don't you remember?
Am I the only person here? Am I taking crazy pills here? Does nobody else see that this girl's lazy? Sorry, girl. I'm sorry, lady. But you jerk. I'm just saying. Maybe if I'm just saying if it were me, I'd still have my boyfriend here.
Okay,
That's all.
well, let me put it this way: for them, her and him being like a pinnacle piece of her, new existence, that made a lot more sense than to just watch him fall through the clouds. Because she had already risked herself multiple times to save him. So the idea that would be something new it was out of character for her to not try that.
I think okay. So
it's also out of character that the sword got stuck. But
there's a lot of presumption. There's some presumption there that there would even be a possibility that he could be saved. When it's probable that he in fact that she probably knew that if she'd gone down with him, they would both die, and that's just one of those things that then when your brain is working, it's like, do I kill myself too, and for the purpose of principle, or do I hope for the best and maybe I save him, and then and all that, and then it's like, or do I not, or do I try to swing him? I don't know what to do. Like a lot of times we get paralyzed in these moments, and then we don't do anything, and then these bad things happen. And maybe that's another one of her limitations, is that she's this badass who can acrobat, who can do all these things. She's playing 4 steps ahead.
Hold up. You're frozen on screen again. Oh man. You literally just looking at me with your mouth open right now. Okay, I think you're back.
Yeah, am I back now?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny because I see you, and you're like, "Hold up, you're frozen," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, you. This is you literally pause like.
So what I'm saying is, yeah, I can see you. You're not frozen. Shut up.
No.
Well, what I'm saying is maybe. I mean, this is a good opportunity to go into, because here's the thing: if you go your route, which is the father makes a decision of who to save, what's going to happen? Like if we're thinking in terms of sequels, then what's going to happen? We're going to go back to the whole thing of she doesn't trust him, or she has some gripe against him, and then they have to overcome that. And that's a story we've already seen. We've already seen that. So What if this is a story where now she's established her strengths as in physical form, like she can do acrobatics, she can do martial arts, she can kill lots of robots and stuff. But can she think 12 steps ahead? Can she play 4D chess with Donald Trump? Because that's the villain. Her next villain, the main villain, is Nova. The main villain is this mastermind. And that's going to take way more than her physical abilities of just being a weapon. She's going to have to hone her mind. So this could be just like the first hint that that's her real challenge. And because she has not yet overcome that, she lost her love. But by losing her love, she knows that's what she needs to overcome.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't necessarily have any issues with that, but we had this conversation when it came to that Payback with Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah.
And my issue always comes down to, if you want to do something like that, I'm okay with it, but you need to let the audience know that that's what you're thinking, right? Otherwise, what it ends up looking like is it looks like she's in the middle of the movie, takes her heart out of her chest and offers it up to this guy specifically so he could potentially go to Zalem, right? Is Zalem?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you don't need to trust me. So you have this literally somebody who's like willing. Obviously, it wouldn't kill her. I mean, they didn't say whether taking the heart out completely would kill her or not. But the idea is that's how dedicated she is, and she now has this choice whether she risks her own life to save this guy, or she continues this mission of which we've gotten such a small sliver of as an audience. I wasn't that compelled with the overall mission until after all that had happened. And so I don't think that she would have necessarily woken up, and you wouldn't have had to have it where she woke up and hated her father. It would have been too easy for him to be like, look, I only had the option to save one of you, and so I saved you. And it could have been a beautiful sequence, of her standing out next to the lake that she went and found herself, previously, and kind of regrouped, and kind of like that Patch Adams image where the butterfly comes and lands on his shoulder to sort of as an indicator that everything's okay, and that the love that he lost is in heaven, kind of thing. This sort of, and it was a very beautiful sequence, and they could have done the exact kind of thing with her where she basically loses everything to this guy Nova, and then and she has to take a second and realize, like, who is she, again has to realize who she is, and then come back and reemerge as the hero that needs to take him down. But I didn't like that. That's
not interesting. I'm so over the whole. You remember who you are. It's remember who you are. Okay, dude. Okay, is that really? Then just write a note about who you are and stick it on a wall. So every time you wake up in the morning, you remember who you are.
You were talking about her fallibilities, right?
Yeah.
Every human's fallibility is the recognition of what it is. Who am I? Like, you go and you do something. If something doesn't work out or something terrible happens to you, you go through this reformatting on like trying to readdress what it is that you want out of life, what it is, who is it that you think you are. And doesn't have to be anything super detailed. All I'm saying is, to me, the falling through the clouds, I'm not going to save you because it's inconvenient for the storyline, is boring and stupid.
I don't think. Okay, I see that there's some unresolved emotional conflicts here, and I want to take this very slightly. So my complaint there. Okay, so I got a couple of things. All right. So
all right, good.
Let's unpack this. So addressing the last part first. It's not enough to be like, well, who I am. I need to remember who I am and address that. If I want to be a better basketball player, and I'm very good at playing computer games, who I am, but I want to be a better basketball player, whatever. Like, who I am is who I am. My abilities beyond that are things that I need to like tackle. So I would need to do more sports. I would need to do more running to build up my stamina. I would need to do like actual exercises to enhance things about me that have nothing to do with what I think about myself. Like, I'm going to the gym every single day. I go twice a day, 3 times a week, because I want to enhance that part of me, because I found that my stamina was lowering. Who I am is a guy who doesn't give up. But beyond that, I can't run 5 miles. But I don't give up. Yeah, but my body doesn't run 5 miles. But I don't give up. Yeah, okay, well, let's go start doing some running and, give up a couple of times because our body's going to give up and eventually you'll be able to run 5 miles again, right? So so for me, it's more than the whole remember who you are. There's got to be some actual exercise of that. Now, I'm not saying that's not what you're saying. I'm saying that to me, in a situation where she identifies that she also, like, she's like, I will not stand idle while evil prevails or whatever. That's who she is. She's a battle angel. But to be a true battle angel, to truly be to have the art of war, you need to study the art of war. You can't just be a weapon. You have in body and in form. You have to be a weapon in your mind. So train there. In order to do that, you have to identify that that's a fault in you. And it doesn't matter what you think you are. You need to test that. You need to start playing some chess, lots and lots and lots and lots of chess. And I know that I have been playing chess lately for a long time, and now my brain is. I mean, I got some people that are running loops around me, taking advantage of me. And then my friends are like, "Well, dude, you're don't sell yourself short. You're brilliant." Well, okay, I'm smart, but I have not been honing that skill lately, and people have been taking advantage of it. So there needs to be so for me, I would much rather see that in the sequel. If there was a sequel, I'd much rather see it. And having said that, I don't know if you know this, but Alita Battle Angel is based on the anime. It's already been
It's a
produced.
manga, yeah.
Yeah, and there's already a sequel, and that has a hard story. So nothing that we say is actually going to matter. I have what I like it to be. You have what you'd like it to be. It's not even that. And this movie was beholden to the source material, and I felt that it followed the source material pretty well.
Well, I guess let me put it this way, because to be fair, like I was creating a scenario based off
Oh,
the
wait,
limitations that you told me. What's
whoa,
up?
whoa, whoa. The other point, the third point was when you were talking about, she pulls out her heart and she was willing to do that. Well, if you remember, she was not worried about dying, pulling out her heart. Like she was like, well, just get another heart. Like this is just a badass heart. I can get a slightly less badass heart and be fine. So it wasn't a matter of like, I'll die and then you'll live. It was a matter of like, hey, let's just do this and I'll trade out another heart and we'll be fine. And we're guaranteed, and I believe that you're guaranteed that you will go where you need to go. Whereas in this situation, it's, hey, we might both die in this situation. There's literally no guarantee of anything. And so I'm not saying it's a bad, I'm just saying that's a false equivalence. They're not the
Well,
same.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I study human psychology a lot. Like that has been pretty much a personal passion of mine since I was a kid.
Oh, well, this
And
movie's about robots.
well,
So
no, I
you're not,
understand, but you're
you're not an
basically
expert.
trying to
Yeah.
format this on
You
human
don't qualify.
psychology.
So
So this wasn't made for
so
you.
quit your job.
Uh,
Yeah,
so the
yeah,
thing though
yeah.
is
I'm gonna be
like
Brie Larson. I don't care if
when when
thumbs look like.
humans when humans find meaning in another person, oftentimes we are very willing to give up like ourselves in order for that other person to live. So, and on top of that, what it is it's a very beautiful expression. There, like there is no greater love than a man lays down his life for his friends, right? So the idea of it is that first of all, when she took out her heart, the heart wasn't disconnected. She didn't take her heart and disconnect it and hand it to him, right? The idea would be is that if it was removed, it would have to be surgically removed. So the thing is, if she still needs a heart, then there would be some functionality to it that she would need. But the point I'm trying to make though is that's what you were led to believe in this movie, was that this was a deep emotional connection that she had with this guy. And then when that was put to the test, at the very end, where she had to decide whether she dropped with him, left the sword as kind of a symbol on the side of the conduit, dropped with him, risked her life too, because of something she had found that was worth more than just taking this jackass down, who's the big baddie. Um, that would have been, to me, that says more about her character, and that would have been a better ending. That's all I'm saying. To me, it would have been a better ending. Now, I still think he should have died, and I still think she should have lived. I'm just saying, to me, that would have been a better ending, that she would have dropped with him, tried to save him. Whatever happened to her, her suit or whatever it was could have saved her life, and then he could have still died in the process, whatever the case may be. But I'm just saying that is it would have been a better storyline in my opinion, and at the same time, we've seen the other storyline. one of the reasons I also say that is because we see that storyline quite a bit where it's this, we saw it in that movie with George Clooney and what was the actress who played in that? With where the what was her name? She played in Miss Congeniality. This is going to be my
Sandra Bullock?
Sandra Bullock, right? What was the name of the movie though?
I have no idea. What movie are you talking
So
about?
they were both astronauts, and they were up
Oh,
on the
Gravity.
ISS. Gravity, yeah. And George Clooney is like very nonchalant about giving up his own life. He's like, yeah, yeah, guess it's time to die now. Good luck with everything. And then he goes and dies, you know. And it was really stupid. Spoiler alert, by the way. And so the thing is like I want to see a little bit more like more story development. You know, when I listen to some of these audiobooks that I have that have a little bit that have the time and effort to put into that extra storyline, it's cool to see the way they come up with things. Game of Thrones was also very good at this, that it wasn't just always just so simple that, you know, somebody would just fall through the mist and die and then the end kind of thing. Like if they, you know, if you didn't see them die, then there's a chance that they're still alive. If you did see them die, then most likely they're dead permanently. And for this particular case, I think it would have been a better move. So, but
Well,
that's
just remember,
that's my
this is a manga from the Japanese culture, and the Japanese culture is already plagued with suicide. Which
wow, wow. All right,
I'm just saying, like they're like one of the number one suicide capital in the world, and so you know, I think they may be wanting to shy away from glorifying suicide. Just you know, I'm just throwing that out there.
I wouldn't call it glorified suicide. She's trying to rescue somebody, and
Yeah,
but
yeah.
and the thing is,
We
she
just don't need a reason for it. You know, just let's just not do it.
all right. Anyways, moving on from that particular point.
All right.
The parts that I'll say this, the parts that I did like is I did like her humanity. I did like the fact, like, you know, when she wakes up, she starts feeling her hands as, you know, like as if she'd been in a dream the entire time. She's not used to standing. She has to like wobble a little bit like a toddler, you know, when she gets out of bed. I like the aspect that everything's new and she doesn't know where she is. Um, the I didn't like the guy, her father, you know, the doctor. I didn't like his like overly mothering her. I thought that he went a little bit too far with that. Like every single time, like he watches her like kill two you know cyborgs in front of his eyes, and then he's like, I don't want you to go out after dark, you know. And it I thought that was like he kept coming back to this stuff, and I get it. He was afraid that, you know, because his daughter died, but it kind of, I thought that wore on a little bit too long, where his realization as an audience, you're kind of like, all right, guy, come on, we've seen enough. Like you've seen enough. She can handle her own. You know, she's a better fighter than you are. And he's, you know, he's like, wear this helmet in this really dangerous
Yeah, yeah,
sport.
yeah.
You know, so I
I
thought, you know, go
Okay,
ahead.
to that I'd say wait till you're a father. I that is one of those things where I understand. I get exactly what you're saying, and if you know 3 years ago I'd be sitting right there with you, but with my son, uh, the way that my brain has been rewired, it doesn't matter how amazing my son is. He's always going to be my little baby, and you know he could be a badass warrior and save me from like 1,200 ninjas, you know, with his bare fists. Oh, and a mountain lion kitten. You know,
Feel like that guy
but
who choked the
yeah,
cougar to death with
the
his
the
foot or
the
whatever.
kitten. You know, they found out it was a kitten today. Like they just they were like,
What?
yes,
It wasn't a mountain. It wasn't a full-grown mountain lion.
no, it
Like
was a
this has been
kitten. No,
circling
it's like
everywhere. Like the
they're
dude
like it
stopped
was
a mountain lion from eating him alive.
yeah, they're like yeah, it was probably like 30 pounds when it was full full bore.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious right now? I was like, this is the most badass dude ever. Like stands on top of the throat of a cougar, looking at his eyes like you will
As it
not get up
dies.
ever
Yeah.
again. And it's like,
And
meow,
yeah, it was just like I thought you were a ball of yarn. I thought you had a ball of yarn. Yeah, so like he could crush 10,000 ninjas,
oh.
and I would still be like, "Hey dude, listen, I still need you to do your homework and eat your vegetables and don't fight ninjas like ever
Oh,
again." Let Daddy fight the ninjas. But Daddy, you couldn't fight them. Yeah, well, you let me die, okay? Let me die so I don't see you ever fighting ninjas again.
All right. Well, I will give you that one because I'm not a father. Hi, mom. But
That's my father.
um, I'll
Not
give you
my
that one
mother, but
because my dad one time years ago talked about like watching the movie Ransom, and he said it like he couldn't watch the whole movie because it scared him because it seemed too real. And then I watched the movie Ransom, and I'm like, really, Dad?
because it triggers there's an emotive response. Like I remember there were that's what I was saying, like when I was first telling you about it, like there's moments in it where like when when she's just a little girl, like she's just like a daughter
It's
in
a
her
boy, by the way.
mind. And what?
Oh, are you talking about Alita?
Alita, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking
Um
about Ransom.
oh yeah, no, like when when it's like fresh, like she's just a little girl, like I started tearing up. And when he gave her her daughter's body, like again I started tearing up because like it just it's the small things. You get to the point where it's like just thinking. As a matter of fact, I left Alita and I texted my best friend, and he's just started to get back with like he used to
Into
work a
manga?
lot.
Oh,
Huh?
so
He used
going.
he used to work a lot, and so he would never be home with his kids. And now he's finally found a lot of time to do that and get back into building relationships with them. And I was telling him, I was like, man, I can't wait for you to get to the point where just the thought of your child brings a tear to your eye, because it happens. Like you get to that point where you just think about them and you start crying. Not sad. You're so full of like, it's not even joy. It's like bewilderment. It's just a very emotional experience. So, and then and then he was like, hey dude, full disclosure, now every morning I make them snacks for their lunch. I'm like, you're such a homo. These no homo. I mean, you know, we love you guys. But watching that movie, really every little nuance was an emotional experience. And that's not on purpose. Like that's not they're not trying to do that. Like you get to a point when you have a kid, you start watching commercials with kids and you just start crying. Like it just happens. So I understand what he was going
I
through.
mean, I'll take your word for it on that one. I feel like I got crap on the side of my face.
You do.
I'll take your
It's
word
good.
for it on that one,
That's a
and
beard,
I'll leave that one
Josh.
alone. Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
Called
What is
hair.
all this black stuff? That's like crap.
I'll
Yeah,
beat
I'll
you.
take. Yeah, I'll take your word on that. I would just for me, it just seemed like it was a little bit overdone as an audience member, but I did like. Other than that, I would say it was definitely fun. I enjoyed the movie quite immensely. I thought it was really really interesting. I liked seeing her development. I like to see. I'll be honest. I like to see the fact that uh, she beat up like goes against that guy. She calls to all the bounty hunters and the warriors or whatever they were called. And then the guy shows up and she goes to fight him and he just wrecks her, and so she has to have her
Yeah.
body rebuilt. I thought that
Yeah.
was really cool. The only thing is that seemed like that was like the climactic moment of the movie. Like you had kind of expected her to go up against him, at a, in another kind of grand battle, and there wasn't really a grand battle at the end of the movie. He shows her Jennifer Connelly's eyes and brain, and that was and that was kind of a weird scene in and of itself. And then she goes to fight the guy and she kills him right away. And then the end. Like it just didn't
Mhm.
seem like there was really a climactic moment in the film.
Did you see? To me, it was akin to Equilibrium. Did you see that movie?
I have, but I actually own it, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Long
So
time.
he,
I mean,
so
I stopped watching it after Sean Bean died.
I don't blame you.
That's every movie.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. There's a movie out there that I've watched
Sean Bean
where
doesn't die.
at the end I'm like, it's like I'm like, oh, it's Sean Bean and he didn't die. It's amazing.
I think it was Funny or Die actually did a whole skit on that. Did you see it?
Yes,
Where
yes.
basically, he's like, all right, Sean, you're typing on the computer. And he's like, then what happens? What, like acid comes out? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh!
No, you just type in your computer. He's
No,
like,
no, that's
all
not how
right,
it
all
works.
right, and then like my fingers break. No, what? No.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
the South Park's thing about Mel Gibson's like, what, you want to torture me? It's like, Mr. Gibson, we didn't like your movie. Oh, well, would you like to torture me over
What? No, we just
it?
yeah. No, so in that
Um,
in Equilibrium, they build up this big rivalry between Christian Bale's character
yeah.
and the other guy. And they have a duel. They have a duel mid movie where Christian Bale's character loses, like the other guy beats him, and it shows how good this guy is. And then Christian Bale, and then at the end of the movie, Christian Bale, he kills everybody, he walks into the main room where the main bad guy is, and this and then Christian Bale's like dueling dude. And spoiler alert for Equilibrium, guys, for those of you, whatever. And the
Spoil
bad
every
guys,
movie here.
3, 2, 1, here we go. So the guy's like, finish him off, and the dude's like, I've been waiting this whole time for this, and he gets like his sword, and he's like, let's do this, and he walks up, and Christian Bale's like, and the dude's face just like falls off, and then he dies, and it's literally like a second long, and it's just that it. And that really what that to me that signifies the final evolution of the character. Like this was a challenge back then. This is not a challenge now. I'm not, and it's the whole thing. Like I'm not here to fight you. Like that's not what's going to happen right now. We had that fight. And as a matter of fact, my journey was the fight. This is where you die because you're not needed anymore. And so to that end, I was fine with that. I was fine with that death.
Well, I guess, and I'll be honest with you, like I would prefer variety over like consistently doing the same thing. And maybe when Alita Battle Angel 2 comes out and it kind of completes the story and you see the whole story in and of itself, then that piece won't be as big of a deal because as you said, like it's literally okay, yeah, you beat me when I was weaker, but now I'm better. And so, this is just sort of this isn't really the end. The climactic moment actually happened here. This is just a transition into the next film, into the next storyline. And I
Yeah,
could
this is closure.
yeah, and I could be okay with that. And as I said, I would much prefer seeing something new and having more variety than necessarily always doing it the same way. In the sense, the same way, like the Superman way, which basically, he gets beat down and then eventually somehow he finds the will within himself to go and then just completely massacre whoever his enemy is, right? But yeah, otherwise, I think it was a good movie, and I do think everyone should see it, and I do think that everyone should go and see it next Friday. March 8th when Captain Marvel comes out.
You should probably put that part in the beginning that you think people should see it, because
Because
now
well,
people are like, well, you just ruined the movie. Like this is all spoiled. Why would I see the movie?
good point. Don't go see it. We explained everything.
You know what? We just saved
You're
you two
good. You're
movies.
good.
We just saved you two films. You don't have to see Alita, and you don't have to see Captain Marvel. You're
Oh
welcome.
yeah,
Well,
you're welcome.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. This is Intellectual Porn. I am your host, Mantra, and this is my co-host,
The Gentleman Rooster at the Don Gallo. That's GALLO on Twitter.
There you go. All righty. Until next time, have a good night.